President Trump has signaled a potential end to the ramping up of the tariff war between the U.S. and China that stunned markets around the world. The president's plan to increase levies on goods, not just from China, but globally, was intended to bolster production in the U.S., giving a boost to American manufacturing. But some critics say this outcome is not likely, specifically for tech manufacturing. I want to bring in Jay Timmons now to speak about this. He's the president and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers. Jay, thanks for being with us here this morning. Great to have you. First, at the top, what do you make so far of this administration's approach to tariffs to help your neck of the woods, manufacturing all over the country?
Well, look, we're always happy when there's a public official who wants to support manufacturing. So tax policy, regulatory policy, all that's important. But we also need to have certainty and predictability when it comes to our exports and our imports. And we're, frankly, manufacturers, and what I'm hearing is manufacturers are a bit concerned about what the ultimate effect of these tariffs are going to be and when they're actually going to be either permanent or we're going to understand what the path ahead is. So we're a little bit confused at this point.
And how does that concern and confusion translate into business? How can you plan with that?
Well, I think that's the real question, Errol, right? So you can't plan. If a business is going to make decisions about long-term investments and hiring, they have to know what the costs are going to be. So we're debating right now the extension of the 2017 tax reforms in Congress.
Right.
So that's uncertain, the path forward. The good news, I think, for manufacturers on the regulatory front is the administration has really taken a very thoughtful approach to rebalancing regulations. On the trade front, we don't really know what the cost of these tariffs are going to be. We're very hopeful that the president is going to get these deals that he's talked about with 90 nations negotiated within the next 90 days. That's a big order, but if he can accomplish that and he can provide the certainty, that'll give manufacturers a little bit of breathing room.
Now, you've been in Washington for some time. It's
Too
a
long.
place you're familiar with. What recommendations are you making to the White House when it comes to these deals? Because you also have, 500,000 open manufacturing jobs.
Yeah,
ideally, you'd like to fill those.
We sure would. That's an average over the last several years, about 500,000 open jobs. A lot of that is because the image of manufacturing sometimes is perhaps folks are thinking about what manufacturing was like back in their grandparents' days or their parents' days. It's very different now. It's very sleek, technology-driven. It's a fun and exciting career. I've had my kids with me this week because it's our spring break, and my one daughter's had a chance to go into manufacturing facilities and see, wow, this is all new and exciting, very different than most people perceive.
So why
but you've
can't
got
you
to
fill
have the
these
right
jobs?
policies in place to build manufacturing jobs.
Why are they open?
Well, they're open because we don't have enough people that are trained with the new technology and the new skill sets that are necessary for the jobs of today. These are not rote jobs of, turning a screw into a plate. These are jobs that really require you to understand how technology, how artificial intelligence works, so that we can make sure that they're part of the manufacturing of the future.
So what are you advising the White House to do with its approach to these tariffs and negotiations? Because in the interim, as you've mentioned, the uncertainty doesn't help.
Well, here's what we hope comes out of these discussions. We want to see more agreements for products and from countries that are willing to give us zero tariffs in exchange for zero tariffs from us, for instance. We want to make sure, we want to make sure, too, that we're able to pull aside a lot of those critical inputs that are necessary for manufacturers that we don't make here. So think of critical minerals that are mined only in certain places in the world and that we can't do here because we don't have the mines open. Think about machines that are important for the shop floor. Think about chemicals that we don't make here because of our regulations. Those are really important. And then lastly, we want to make sure there's some sort of an incentive for folks who are investing here in America, an incentive that will offset the cost of whatever tariffs are implemented.
The other angle in our last few seconds I just want to ask you about that your organization is pushing for is deregulation in many areas, cutting the red tape. What are you looking for there?
So we're looking for more balanced regulations. And I think about, for instance, the PM 2.5 regulation that was implemented in the last administration.
Remind me what that is?
No, well, it is particulate matter. It's the number, it's really complicated number of molecules.
Title sounded complex.
But the bottom line is it's an environmental regulation that will restrict manufacturing investment and job creation where it's needed most for technologies that can actually help us clean the air and clean the water. So we want to make sure that we have that balance that lets us invest in the future.
Jake Timmons, really appreciate you coming in. I would say waking up early with us, but I'm sure you're up at this time anyway. And great to have your family here. Hope they enjoy the city. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, sir.